Hello everyone, this is Virendra Singh from toolsqa.com. I welcome you to our next tutorial on control statements in Java. In this tutorial, we will talk about different constructs that are provided to us by Java, which allows us to control the flow of your program. This is a requirement this is a requirement from almost all the languages because they require a way to control the flow of their programs. In today's class, let us see how we can change the flow of our program. So before we start, let me take you through the agenda today. Today we will be talking about we will try to understand what is program execution. We will try to understand what are the different control statements that we have in Java. We will try to understand the individual control statements, and the control statements in Java are divided into three categories. The first one is selection statements, the second one is iteration statements, the third one is the jump statements actually. So in this class, in this video, we will cover selection statements only. In the next video, we will cover the iteration statement plus the jump statement. With this, let me just dive into the topic. Well, program execution. To understand program execution, let me take you to the Eclipse environment. So our typical program, something which we discussed in the last class, in the previous classes where I showed you how we can create our own project. So I have created a simple project, and this is a simple class with the static main method. In this class, I will write some code. I will write a few things, and I will just try to do a simple addition task. I will say that I have two integers, a and b, and a has a value of 100, b has a value of 200, and I would say that I want to print the sum of the two numbers. Right. I would say that the sum of the two numbers is a plus b. Right. I would like to print the sum, or let us do one thing. Let us create another variable, and let us say that the sum is a plus b, and let us print the variable sum. If I run my program, you would see that the program runs in a sequence. This step is executed first. This one will be executed second. This addition statement will be executed third, and at the end this statement will be executed. In this statement we will print the result, right? We will just print the result onto the console. Now this is a regular flow of your program. Your program starts with the main method. In case of simple applications, it starts with the main method, and it picks up statements one by one in the order in which they appear in the program, right? Now this is a regular flow of program. Now at times you would want things to happen differently. At times you would want to skip a couple of steps, or perform or execute the same steps couple of times more as compared to the other statements. So in those cases, you would want to branch out your program. You would want to have a different flow than the usual flow. So let me just run this program first, and then we will understand what it means. Or let me just add a couple of things here. Let me say that right. Similarly, I would say that I'm putting these print statements because it will tell us what was the execution flow. Now if I run this program, you would see that the print statements are executed in a sequence. That means this line was executed first. After that, this print statement was executed. As we can see here, just created variable A, just created variable B, and at the end it says that the sum of the two numbers is 300. Now, this is the proper sequence, right? Now, if we want to have something with a different sequence, we use the control statements. Now, let me just dive into it and let me show you how we can do this. So in Java, there are three types of control statements. The first one is called selection statements. The second one is called iteration statements, and the third one is called jump statements. You can read the text yourself. It doesn't explain anything extra than what I am explaining right now. So after that, let me jump into selection statements. So in the selection statements, we have three main types of statements, which is which is if else, if else, else, and switch case. So let me just write a program, because that is the easiest way to explain these things. So let's say we have two integer numbers a, and they have a value like this, right? And now I want to write a small piece of code which finds out the greater number, the bigger number. I would write it like this, the bigger number. So out of A and B, I want to find out which one is bigger, right? So I would say that if I were to write a small algorithm for this, I would say that if A is greater than B, print A greater than B. If B is less than A, print B. If B is greater than A, print B is greater than A. So in this case, we can see that B is greater than A. So the first statement that we have is the if-else statement. Now, if-else statement is written like this: if, and then these two brackets and a curly bracket, opening and closing curly bracket. Right, now in these brackets there should be a Boolean expression. Now Boolean expressions are the ones which results into a Boolean value. So I would say if, so you have seen the relational operators earlier, right? So if I say A greater than B, now this is a Boolean expression, right? If A is greater than B, it will give me true or false based on the values of A and B. So an if statement would be something like this: if A is greater than B, execute whatever is between these curly braces, else execute whatever falls in these two curly braces. So I would just say that I would print A is greater than B, right? And here I would say B is greater than A, right? So what have we achieved here, right? This is the plain syntax of if else. Try to remember it, try to understand it by learning it. There is no easy way to learn this, it's just you have to remember it. Now let me try to put the syntax like this. So if syntax is like this: if Boolean condition, if true, execute what's in these curly braces, else false, execute what's in the else block, else curly braces. I would say curly braces. Now now whatever is inside it is called a block of code. Now if A is greater than B, this one will be executed, otherwise this one will be executed. This print statement will be executed. Now let us run it and let us see what happens here. Let me just resize everything. So I will remove the comment from so that the program is shorter and it's easier to understand. So there are two things, A and B. There are two integers, A and B. A has a value of 100, B has a value of 200. I'm comparing A with B, and if this comparison is true, this statement will be executed. Else, that means if this comparison is false, this statement will be executed. Let me just run it. You will see that only one statement has been printed. Now what did we do? What did we achieve? We achieved a break, we achieved a redirection of the flow of program. So earlier we saw that the program flows in a linear sequence where it picks up the first line and it just follows after that. Now here we just saw that we have skipped one line of code based on a condition at runtime. So while the program was executing, we changed the way the program executed. We directly from here we jumped onto this statement, right? If I simply change the value of A, you will see that all of a sudden if I run the program, you will see that we have a different statement printed. So now as A is greater than B, this statement returned a true, and if condition was if whatever was inside the true block, the if condition was executed. Right, so this is a simple if-else statement. I hope I didn't confuse you too much in here, but it's quite simple. It's quite easy to understand. So now the important point to note here is that in the if conditional block, you have to have a Boolean expression, anything that results into a Boolean output, right? So just try to write some more if-else conditions and you will understand it better. Now I will move on to the next one quickly, which is the if-else condition. Now it might be possible that, so in the previous example, let me just bring the previous example back. In this example, we said if A is greater than B, say that print that A is greater than B, and if A is smaller than B, print B is greater than A, right? But what if A and B are equal? So there could be conditions where you have more than one logical conditions to check. For example, here we have A greater than B. Then we also might want to check whether A is equal to B or not, right? So in those cases we have if, else blocks. So it's little it's kind of a tongue twister, but don't worry about it. I will show you how. So what we are trying to verify is that if A is greater than B, and I will just print this, A is greater than B, right? And I want to check another thing, another condition, which is A equals to B or not, right? I can write it like this, and there is this final condition, which is the default condition, which is represented by the else block. So all we have done here is that we have created three blocks of code, conditional code, in which the first one will be executed only when A is greater than B. The second one will be executed only when A is equal to B. Third one will be executed if none of the two above conditions are true, right? So I will just write some statement here to easily figure out is equal to B, and then I would say B, let me write it like this, A is less than B, right? So what have we done here is that we have actually tested two conditions and we have given a default condition here. Now as A is greater than B, we will see that this statement will be executed and the other two statements will be skipped. Now let me run this. and you will see that here it simply prints out A is greater than B, right? Now let me make the two equal. So I would expect that this statement will be executed. Now let me just run it, and you will see that it has printed A is equal to B. Similarly, let me just say that A has a value of 100. Now these two conditions will become false and it will fall onto the else block. You will see when I run it, you will see that A is less than B is printed on the screen, on the console. Now this is what if else block is. Now there is one important point to remember here, that else if you can put as many else if blocks as possible. You can say that else if A not equals to 0. You can put more blocks, else if A not equal to -1. Now these are like not a real-time comparison in this case. I'm just writing it to demonstrate the fact that you can have as many else if blocks as possible, and you can easily skip the last else block. You can easily skip that. If you don't write the else block, that's also fine. So you can just remove it. Now this is how you can create multiple conditions in your statement, in your code. And one more important point to remember is that only one condition will be executed, because only one logical comparison will turn into true, right? So this is what if else if blocks are. Let me move on to the last one, which is the switch case block. Now before we go into switch case, let me just revisit our earlier statement. Now this was the condition that we wanted to perform. We wanted to check whether A is greater than B, and then we wanted to check whether A is equal to B, and if none of the two conditions were true, we wanted to simply say that A is less than B, right? Now we can do similar stuff, similar branching of code using a switch case. Now let me just quickly show you what a switch case is and what a syntax of switch is. So a switch block starts with a switch statement, and inside the switch you have to give a value. Just a minute, let me, I think there is some problem here. Just a minute. So this is how a switch statement starts with. It starts with the switch keyword, and inside the switch keyword you will send the comparison or whatever you want to use as a condition. So let me before I go here, let me take you back to the drawing board and let me give you a scenario. Let me just tell you how. Let us create a hypothetical situation. Let us say we have an integer A and we have a value of this as 5. Let me just give it a value 5, right? Or let us just remove this. Let us say there are 7 days in a week. Well, we can, it's actually a fact, so there are 7 days in a week. So the first day is, let's start with Sunday. The first day is Sunday, and as we move forward, the 7th day comes out to be a Saturday again, right? If I'm not wrong, the 7th day comes out to be Saturday. Now let's say we have a situation where we have a variable integer which says that which has a name day of week, and it represents the day of the week. And let's say when it says 5, when it says 1, then we expect an output of Sunday on the screen. And when it say when day of week equals to 6, we expect an output of Friday on the screen, right? Now we can do this using an if-else statement, and we can do it using a switch statement as well. Sorry for that. writing, we can do it using a switch statement also. So let us try to do it using a if-else statement first and then using a switch statement. So let us say we have an integer here and the name of the integer is day of the week, and let us say that we want to print what day it is in words uh, based on the numerical value of the day. So we would say if a equals to 1, right, we will do something like this, right? Because if a equals to 1, we would say day is Sunday, right? Similarly, I would put another condition. I would say else if a equals to 2, I would print out day is Monday, right? And let it be caps, and it's not a, it's day of the week, right? Day of the week. Similarly, I will keep on expanding my else if condition to cover all the days, right? I would say if the day is 3, it becomes a Tuesday, right? And if I go here, I will say if the day is 4, it becomes Wednesday, right? And similarly, if the day is 5, it becomes a Thursday. A 6th day would become a Friday, and the 7th day would become a Saturday again. Saturday, right? Now let me just show it to you. Right, this is the program that we have written. I think you're able to understand the whole if else block here. We can skip this, or let us not skip this. So this is the if else condition. We can write that logic like this also. If I run this, as the day of the week is 1, it will print day is Sunday, right? And this is what it has printed. Let me just run it again, and you will see that it has printed day is Sunday. Let me resize it. And if I change the day, let's say if I change it to 2, and if I run it again, it will print the day is Monday, right? This is one way of writing this logic. Now there is another way of doing the same thing. Let me expand it. And the other way is using the switch statement. Now a switch statement is again a branching statement. It will branch your code, but the syntax is like this. You start with a switch construct. You say switch, and then you specify the condition you want to check, and you provide your opening and curly braces. Now we have to check this value for a particular condition, right? So I would say case 1, case if day of the week equals to 1, and then this symbol, it's a colon, and I would print out that that the day is Sunday. Then I would say case 2, I will print out the day is Monday. I would similarly just copy this again and again till the time case 3, it becomes a Tuesday. Case 4, it becomes Wednesday. Case 5 becomes Wednesday, Thursday. Case 6 becomes Friday, and case 7 becomes your Saturday, right? Now I'm saying that, let me just format it. Yeah, I'm saying that if the switch condition, you would say that this is if day of the week is 1, print this. If day of week is 2, print this. If day of week is 3, print this. Now it is actually performing the same if-else logic, but in a different way. So here, this is a switch case block. This whole is a switch case block. Now using this, let us just print something. I want to show you one problem in this code. So let me just print this. You will see that it is printed the days Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, everything. Now the reason why it has printed this is because unlike the if-else statement, right? So let me just go back to the drawing board, because that is the right way to show it to you. So a simple if-else block was day of week. I said if week equals to 1, it's a Sunday, right? This is what I said, and then I said else if day of week equals to 2, I said it's a Monday, and so on, right? And so on, we moved forward. Now in the if case, what happens is that whenever a condition in the if else if block comes to be true, all other conditions are skipped, right? It just moves out of it, out of the if block, and it just executes one block of code. In this case, if this is equals to 1, then this code will be blocked. If the day of the week is 2, this code will be blocked, and all other code blocks will be skipped. But this is not the case with the switch statement. Now in the switch statement, what happens is that if case 1, it comes out to be Sunday, what happens is that case 2, Monday, and so on, right? What happens is that if this condition is true, it will execute this statement, it will jump to the second case, and it will execute that statement, and it will execute everything that comes after that, right? So if any of the case statement is true, all the statements after that will be executed, unless you explicitly break from the statement. So to break, we just simply follow the break jump. It's a kind of a jump statement. We will talk about the breaks in the next class, but at this point in time, just remember that in a switch clause, you have to put a break if you don't want any of the conditions after the required break to be, after the required case to be executed. Now I will explain it again. So what happens is that in this case, the day of the week is 2. So what will happen is that it will find the case where the day of the week is 2. It will say that, oh, day of the week is 2 in this case. It will execute this statement, and it will keep on executing every statement after that if I don't break out of the statement. So this break keyword, what it does is that as soon as this condition is true, as soon as day of the week equals to 2 is found, it breaks after executing system.out.print. When it breaks, it skips out of the loop and it comes out of the switch block. So this is how you can prevent it from actually printing all these values. So it printed everything, right? So let me just run this statement. You will see that this time it printed only Monday, right? So this was the switch case block. It might have been a little confusing, but if you take a look around the video once again and try to code it yourself, you will understand the if else block and the switch block. So with that understanding, I will ask you to write some program here, and we will meet in the next video, in which we will continue with our slide. We will move to the iteration statements, and we will talk about how we can run loops. Thank you very much for joining.